The terrorists at Bondi Beach had hatred in their minds, but guns in their hands. And this bill will address both those issues.
This year, the federal government returned to Parliament early to address the Bondi Beach terror attack, where on the 14th of December 2025, 15 people were killed at an event where Sydney's Jewish community had gathered to celebrate Hanukkah, an ancient Jewish festival.
For every person murdered, there are families and friends left behind, a home left quieter, clothes still hanging in wardrobes.
We honour those we lost by answering this question: how did this happen? And how can we make sure it never happens again?
Our country will never be the same, nor should it be. The question is who we become now.
I'm Josh Sunman. I'm an Associate Lecturer here at Flinders in the College of Business, Government and Law. I work in the Government and Politics section. The government was pressured by kind of public outcry by the opposition to do something in response to the Bondi massacre. In response, they came up with an omnibus bill. Basically, that means it was a bill with a lot of things in it. So we ended up with discussions around hate speech and criminalising kind of racial hatred.
The bill was welcomed by some, but criticised by others for how quickly it moved through Parliament and for the unintended consequences that might come from creating the toughest racial hatred laws in Australian history.
We've got laws like Section 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act, which says that if you offend or insult or humiliate or intimidate a person on the grounds of their race, that's unlawful, not at the criminal level, but at the civil level.
The main difference between criminal and civil law is criminal law aims to punish offenders, like sending them to jail, while civil law exists mainly to resolve disputes.
The view was taken that it's better to deal with racial hatred issues not by criminal law, because the view was taken that laws don't change the hatred in someone's heart. In fact, what they might do is make a person feel more alienated and excluded and angry and therefore more likely to be violent. And so Bondi has sort of tipped the equation so that now governments are feeling more inclined to say, well, you know, that's it, this is criminal, we will not abide this, we will send people to jail for that.
These new racial hatred laws were originally presented alongside gun reforms, which would make it harder to get automatic weapons and increase security checks. These ended up being split into two separate bills, and the gun laws passed pretty easily with support from the Greens. In the end, the racial hatred laws also passed with a few changes and support from the Liberal Party.
Bondi represents a moment of choice. It's the choice to be constructive, to pass this legislation as a step in the right direction.
But across the board, it didn't go down quite so well and sparked discussions about how we police hate speech, like racial hatred, and protect free speech.
This bill is an attack on our basic democratic freedoms: freedom of conscience, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion.
We couldn't support a bill that might have criminalised peaceful protesters calling out human rights abuses in other nations.
We absolutely need to act urgently, but we shouldn't be rushing complex legislation, ignoring community feedback and neglecting genuine consultation.
There's a major provision in here which was about outlawing hate groups. The law is quite broad, so this is one of the more controversial aspects of the bill.
This new bill gives the Minister for Home Affairs the power to identify and ban groups that promote or engage in hatred or violence based on race, nationality or ethnicity. The Minister must first get advice from the Director General of Security, who's the head of Australia's spy agency ASIO. Then the Minister makes an assessment about whether or not this group is a hate group and whether or not it's committed a hate crime and should be banned, which could then mean criminal offences for any involvement with these groups.
Now, that in itself is rather weird, because normally if you're saying, well, someone's committed a crime, it's something that has to be determined by a court. Who gets to decide if there's a defence, for example, like a defence of acting in good faith in, education or whatever? Well, it's not a court, it's the Minister. Who gets to decide that the facts actually happened? Well, It's not a court, it's a minister. So the person who's actually making the decision about all these things which normally we would leave to an independent court is actually the minister who's the one who wants to ban your organisation.
The National Socialist Network, a neo-Nazi group that promotes hate around race, religion and sexuality, has publicly disbanded before these new laws come in to avoid being listed as a hate group. But what happens if a group holds a particular view that might be interpreted as hatred by some, but is a legitimate political view to others?
That could really hurt our democracy. The Greens were quite concerned about this, as well as the National Party actually, so we see some interesting coming together across the political divide here. There is potential for some of these laws in the future to be interpreted in a way which outlaws particular protest groups. The idea that protests against the war in Gaza could be found kind of to run afoul of these laws and to be intimidating Jewish groups in particular. Protests are loud. There's a lot of people there who may completely disagree with your worldview. That can be an intimidating thing, but that's not necessarily a hate crime.
So on one hand, some say these laws could go too far in limiting free speech, freedom of political communication or protest. On the other hand, some reckon these laws should expand to protect people not just against racial hatred, but against hate speech based off sexuality, gender or religion.
At the moment, it only protects race, and I believe it should protect all Australians who are being targeted by people like the neo-Nazis or extremist preachers.
One of the difficulties with it is it's unclear sometimes where the border is between race and religious groups. And so that's why some people have been saying, well, you need to incorporate religion as well as race there in order to make the law fairer.
The risk of getting these laws wrong, either in making them too restrictive or not protective enough, is that if they're too restrictive, we could really limit freedom of speech in our democracy. If they're not strong enough, however, we could see vulnerable groups attacked on the basis of their ethnic and religious identities, and this is also something which is not acceptable in a democratic society. So it's about getting that balance right between protection and freedom.